Hi folks, we're just about to start with In Our Words, streaming from Division Street. This one is entitled My Neighborhood. We know that there are at least some classes that are going to be tuning in live, so just wanted to set it up a little bit here. We will be starting within about 2 minutes, so I'm going to walk into the room and get set up so that we can actually see what's going on with the introductions and see the speakers. See at least one person that has joined us there. So hope I've got this thing set up right. It does look a little different than it usually does. Anyway, I can't see comments, by the way, for whatever that's worth, but we will be watching the speakers here, so stick with us. Hey, Autumn, we'll get started in just a moment. Got a good number of people here this morning. Still got folks coming in. We set up on this side of the room because of those vending machines over there. They put out a lot of noise. Hope that the speakers will pick up okay. We are on.
Hello, everybody. Welcome here today, and thank you for coming. I am Dr. Angela Hughes, and I am part of our Communication Studies program here at Pellissippi State. I want to talk a little bit about the In Our Words program, and then we'll ask Ms. Emzik to come and talk a little bit about what they're doing here in Communication Studies, and then we will hear from our awesome student speakers. Last fall, I started here at Pellissippi, and I got a call from Don King, who is our tech genius and all things wonderful over here behind our Facebook Live. That's right, you're on Facebook Live. Don't do anything to embarrass yourself. So is it too late? Don's already embarrassed himself. So I got a call from Don, and he said, hey, we have this great faculty lecture series where we let faculty kind of have a voice and give them a place to talk about what's important to them. What if we did that for students? And so we set about doing that for students. And so we wanted to have panels where students can talk about what's going on in their world and give voice to their experience. And so that's what the In Our Words panel does. We've done ones at Blount County. We got to do one there with a couple of students, with 3 students. And we got to do one at Hardin Valley. And so we are so glad to be here at Division and hear from students here. We partner with Phi Theta Kappa, who have students representing them today, Taylor will introduce our speakers, and April's being our awesome Don't Forget to Sign In door usher. And so we are so thankful for Casey Lambert and Judy Sigler, who advise Phi Theta Kappa and who help us with a lot of the stuff that we do with this. I'd like to ask Ms. Emzik to come talk a little bit about the assignment, and then we'll hear from our student speakers.
Everybody's taller than I am. In Our Words is a really great opportunity, as Dr. Hughes said, for students to voice what's going on in their lives, the way they see the world. When they told me they were going to do this at Division Street, I thought, let's focus it a little bit more. Let's have a theme. And the theme is my neighborhood. That was the assignment given to my students for their informative speech this semester. And it's a pretty broad topic if you stop and think about it. Every student was allowed to take that topic any direction they wanted, as long as they somehow tied it into the theme of my neighborhood. The 4 speakers that we have today were chosen for a variety of reasons. Some partially for their speaking skills, for the diversity of their approach to the topic, and for some of them for the amount of research that they did into the project. So we have a real variety today for you. And if you could come introduce our first speaker.
Hi, I'd like to introduce our first speaker of the day, who is Sarah Shelley. She's currently working on an undergrad degree in ecology and political science, and she plans to transfer to UTK in the fall of 2017 to prepare for law school. Wow. Sarah wants to pursue a career in environmental law.
Now, when you hear the words island life, what comes to mind? Is it white sandy beaches or palm trees? Where I'm from, we had white snowy marshes and pine trees. Now, Harson's Island might not be what you see in your mind as your tropical paradise, but to a lucky few, are proud enough to call home. Between its bizarre history, its unyielding resistance to development, and its economic diversity, it really makes this place have a unique, distinctive charm. And part of that distinctive charm probably stems from its not-so-charming history. Now, as we probably all know, in 1776, the Declaration of Independence was signed. Harson's Island, however, wasn't declared an American territory for another 7 years because the maps that they were working off of at the time didn't include it. It's small. Basically, after that 7-year period, finally it was declared as American territory. And that year, a fur trader and a gunsmith by the name of Jacob Harson purchased the island from the Chippewa tribe leaders that lived there at the time. Now, basically it's rumored that Jacob Harson selected to live on this island because he was a total recluse. He wanted to be away from society, he wanted to be away from civilization, so that's why he picked an island. And now, back in those days, living on this island was not for the faint of heart. If you had any sort of medical condition in which required attention that couldn't be treated at home, you were looking at a 30-mile canoe trip to Detroit. So it's definitely a lot rougher times back then. Let's see. Now, I don't know if you have ever heard of the term island fever, but it's definitely a real thing. I experienced it myself living on the island. Almost every single winter and spring, the entire St. Clair River would become blockaded with ice to the point where the ferry could not cross through. The auto ferry is the only way to get to and from the island. So you were looking at a week, maybe 2 weeks, where you're either stranded on or off of the island. So yeah, you get a little stir crazy, you get a little bit disconnected. So this is definitely something real, but absolutely nothing compared to what they had back then, like I mentioned with the canoe trip. It is, as legend has it, that Jacob Harson, along with his entire family, went completely insane. Family disputes ended with gunshot wounds, and they became completely removed from society, so much so that by the end of Jacob Harson's life, the details of his death are uncertain. They don't even know when or how he died. Apparently, for the last at least 20, 30 years of his life, refused to leave the safety of the island. It's a little wacky. And it seems as though that recluse sort of mentality is kind of stuck in the fabric of the islanders, even today. Now, the first proposal for a bridge was made in the late 1980s, and it was just immediately shot down, and has been every proposal since. And you might be thinking, why not a bridge? You know, that's going to save you from getting stranded on the island every winter. What's the matter with you? Why wouldn't you want there to be a bridge? Not to mention it costs $6 a round trip every time you go today. If you need to go to the grocery store or work or school, you know, so it does add up. But overwhelmingly, according to community leaders earlier this year in a Times Herald article, even they outlined some of the reasons that the islanders are so vehemently against building a bridge. And that's one of the main reasons is for zoning. If they build a bridge, the island could become rezoned for commercial properties, build a McDonald's and a Walmart. Nobody wants that on the island. It's going to change their way of life. And also, 75% of the island is owned by DNR, wildlife protected property. So it would definitely change up the atmosphere quite a bit. It seems to me, in my experience, that also a bridge might bring about people that are non-islanders, which is something that islanders seem to really not want there. I don't know if you've all seen in a movie, somebody walks into a bar and the music screeches to a stop and everybody stops and stares. Well, that's basically the greeting you're going to get if you walk into a bar in Harson's Island and you're not an islander. For a place that's so flooded with tourism in the summers, it's beautiful waterways, shallow bays, sandy, it's a gorgeous place. But even considering that, 60% of the homes on the island as well are either seasonal or recreational homes, not islanders. So it's not your typical tourist destination. There are no hotels, no campgrounds. There's nothing that caters to the booming numbers of tourists that come every year, as it does seem to pose a threat to their way of living. But that way of living has attracted a group of people from all walks of life. And another interesting point from the U.S. Census Bureau, that the economic background on the island, about half of the population is lower class, middle class, and it kind of skyrockets up to your next bracket of very, very wealthy. But something that's pretty unique and unusual that I really love about the island is that it's very common to see people from completely opposite economic backgrounds be friends. It's just something, to me it seems as though being an islander carries a lot more weight than your bank account. And so it's certainly something to hold dear and something pretty unique to find in these days. So basically you have a range from floating shacks to celebrity summer homes. So it basically has developed an odd mix of people, all of which hold it, the simplicity, they embrace it and protect it so much. It brings about somewhat of this unspoken fellowship. And among this collection, these people that cross all these barriers, that makes it a pretty unusual, unique, but very wonderful place that I'm proud to call home. Thank you.
Let's welcome our second speaker, Miranda Van Hoos. She was born in the Florida Keys and lived there until she was 4 years old, when she moved to Knoxville with her mother. She attended UT Knoxville for 1 year after high school, and after taking a 4-year academic break, she is back and planning to transfer to UTK to study history.
We all have a best friend, that one person who we truly connect with and know inside and out. In my case, it's someone that I've known for almost my entire life. I met my best friend Sierra when I was 5, shortly after I moved to Knoxville in our neighborhood in the Rocky Hill area. I remember she was riding her tricycle around our neighborhood accompanied by her mom, Roseanne, while I was playing out in my new yard, my mom watching close by. Our mom struck up a conversation and quickly set a play date for us since we were so similar in age. Little did we know, though, that conversation would lead to our 20 years of friendship. And thinking about that and reflecting on it made me realize how lucky I am that the circumstances that caused her family to move to our neighborhood and the circumstances that caused my family to move to our neighborhood resulted in one of the best friendships that I could ever ask for. We both traveled from opposite ends of the eastern United States and ended up in Tennessee. My family had been living in Florida before we moved here, and she and her family had been living in Laurel Lakes, Maryland. I called her mom, Roseanne, and asked her a few questions on why they decided to move to Knoxville, and she filled me in. Sierra's dad, Chris, is a nuclear engineer, so he has to move around for his job. He was working for a company called Diversified Technology when they signed a contract with Y-12, so the company relocated to Knoxville in order to be closer to Oak Ridge. In May of 1993, Sierra's mom and dad flew down to Knoxville and picked out their lot in Chestnut Hill. It was a brand new neighborhood at the time, so they got to help design the house. And learning that, I could definitely see Roseanne's influence in it. She had the house designed with 9-foot ceilings, which was incredibly uncommon in the early 90s. And I always remember every room having a distinct theme. Sierra's room growing up was painted to look like a beach. It had a bright blue sky, sandy shore, and then smack dab in the middle of the wall was a pink flamingo wearing sunglasses. Her parents moved to their house in September of 93, but I wouldn't meet her until July of 95. Or 97. My family was still living in Florida at that time. My parents are both from a teeny tiny eastern rural Kentucky town called Paintsville. Last year, Johnson County, which encompasses Paintsville, only had a population of barely over 23,000. So it's really tiny. Shortly after my parents got married, my dad got a job offer as a hospital administrator in Marathon Key, Florida. It was a long way from Kentucky, but my parents decided to give it a try, and they absolutely loved Florida. They met some amazing lifelong friends who I still consider family today, and my dad had succeeded in helping the hospital turn a profit. Unfortunately though, on September 18th, 1995, my father passed away in a fatal car accident. He had been traveling from Sebring, Florida, where our family was planning on moving the following week, when he fell asleep at the wheel. Understandably, my mom wanted to be closer to our family in Kentucky, so she proceeded to do something that I will always be proud of her of. As a newly widowed mother of a 3-year-old, she decided to enroll in the University of Tennessee's speech pathology graduate program. Knoxville is only about 4 hours away from Paintsville, so it's closer than Florida, and UT has a very highly rated speech pathology program. U.S. Newsweek rated it number 39 out of 249 accredited speech pathology programs last year. So we packed our bags and we moved to Knoxville. Our first year as Tennesseans, though, we lived in a 2-bedroom apartment off Gallatin Road. But the following year, my mom bought our house in Chestnut Hill, and that's when I met Sierra. Our friendship started out with proximity. We were friends because we basically lived next door to each other. But as we grew older, our friendship wasn't just measured by yards. It became so much more than that. We even moved in together after our first year of college, so we got about as close as you could get. And knowing each other for almost our entire lives, we got to experience everything together. Sierra was there for me when my mom remarried. I was there for her when her parents got divorced. And we were there for each other after the death of one of our mutual friends right before our senior year of high school. And experiencing all these things together and knowing each other for so long, we became family. I've known Sierra longer than my own stepsister, and I know her 10 times better than my half-brother. I even consider her mom, Roseanne, to be like a mom to me, someone who I always felt I could talk to when I was too scared to talk to my own mom. And because of that, I'm sorry. We got to experience all these things. And we may not live together anymore, not even in the same state. But the circumstances that caused both of our families to move into our neighborhood, because her dad's job and because my mom going to graduate school, resulted in one of the best friendships that I could ever imagine. And because of that, I will always be thankful that I met that little girl riding her tricycle around my neighborhood. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Sarah McConnell, is one of the youngest freshmen here in her first semester at LSB State. She's considering either a major in accounting or psychology, leading to a career as a counseling psychologist. She'd also like to be a published author. Let's hear it for her.
Hi Has your high school done anything helpful for the community? Gibbs High School has. They've done multiple things to help the community in Quarrington. At the end of my speech, you will know more about how Gibbs has helped the community around them. One way that Gibbs helped the community is through the Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America, or FCCLA Club. What is FCCLA? FCCLA is a national student organization that helps young men and women become leaders and address important family, work, and social issues through family consumer science education. In FCCLA, we've done multiple service projects for the community. One of them is called Quilt of Valor. Quilt of Valor is where you make a quilt for a veteran or a veteran's family or anyone who has been touched by war. That wasn't the only one we've done. We've also sewed eyeglass cases for a Nicaragua mission trip. We've stuffed stockings for Salvation Army. We volunteered at Booth the Zoo, and we also sewed pet beds for Young Williams Animal Shelter. And along with that, we also made Valentines for the teachers to show how much we appreciate what they've done for the people at Gibbs. The second way Gibbs help the community is through the event planning class. One of the events we've planned is called Gibbs Goes Live. Gibbs Goes Live is a school-wide singing competition in which the winner of that competition goes to the CTE Goes Live event in downtown Market Square. For this event, we advertised. For that, we made posters and put them around the school, as well as making PowerPoint slides for the TVs that were also around school. And as for auditions, beforehand we checked the microphones, checked the speakers, make sure those worked, and we also helped with the actual auditions itself. And for the tickets, we designed and sold them ourselves. And at the actual event, we staffed for everything that went on. Another thing the event planning class did was we planned the Honors Luncheon. The Honors Luncheon is a school-hosted lunch. A school-hosted lunch for the students with a GPA of 3.5 or higher. The plan on this, the class divided into 5 different groups. One did decorations, another dealt with the food, one dealt with seating, the fourth one dealt with making invitations, and the last group did making the certificates for the students. And at the actual event, we set up, we served food, and we took down afterwards. And we also advertised for a food drive Gibbs did called the Kane's Kick Hunger's Can Food Drive. Kane as in like the WWE wrestler. And along with that, we ran it. And now the last thing I'll talk to you about was the Kane's Kick Hunger's Can Food Drive. For this, it's a school-wide thing, and we had prizes for kids who brought in food. If a student had brought in 25 or more cans, they got an autographed photo of Kane and a $100 chance to win a $100 gift card. But if a student brought in 50 or more cans, they got the same thing, except they also got a lunch opportunity with Kane himself. And the food that we collected went to the Quarrington Food Pantry. And we made this a competition for Gibbs High School versus Carter High School because we wanted to kindle competitive spirit between each other. in the end, Gibbs beat Carter, with Gibbs having 1,494 cans and Carter only having 750 cans, according to Mr. Herman. Now, there are more things Gibbs has done, but these are my favorite because I had good and funny memories of everything we did. I like the memories of when we, in FCCLA, when we gave the quilts to everyone, to veterans and families. And I also remember with the Gibbs Goes Live event when we played musical chairs while the judge did their thing. I had never seen musical chairs be so competitive in my life. I'd never seen so competitive. And there's just so many memories that and the people I worked with were nice, and that's another reason it was one of my favorites. And so, those are the three ways Gibbs has helped the community around them. Thank you.
Our last speaker of the day is Jalen Jones, who's working on a double major in finance and analytics. He is a student in the UTK Bridge program who plans to pursue a career in investment banking.
Can everyone close your eyes for a minute? I want you guys to imagine a child. And 4 or 5 days out of that week, he goes to sleep hungry, crying himself to sleep, with no way to eat and no money to buy food. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, the Memphis Sheriff comes to the door. Bang, bang, bang. Open up. And you're woken up violently out of your sleep by your brother or sister next to you saying, we have to get our stuff and leave. Now open your eyes. That child you just imagined was me. The Claiborne Home project that I lived in Memphis, Tennessee, located only 5 minutes from downtown, were in the middle of being obliterated by greedy investors and hungry government contracts. That location made it perfect for gentrification. Does anyone here know what gentrification is? In the simplest of terms, gentrification is when a higher tax bracket, say the higher class, moves into a lower end neighborhood and they buy up all the property and tear down all the houses to raise the property tax. Well, in the middle of raising this property tax, hundreds of families were displaced, and one of those families, the Memphis Housing Authority, were given orders to either kick parents and kids out, or they were given vouchers to move somewhere else. Only 25% of our population received vouchers. The rest were just kicked out, nowhere to go. In the process of being kicked out, I lost my home, my community, and my family. I lost my home due to Title V funding, which is a government contract that gives the lower end neighborhoods and investors government money to tear down the houses to move in people with higher tax brackets. In the middle of losing that, after my neighborhood received government contracts, the Memphis Housing Authority started lobbying private investors, which bought a section of our land and made their own houses or whatever they wanted to make it into, including commercial property. Also, according to the 24/7 Wall Street in 2011, Memphis had the 6th highest crime rate in the country. In my neighborhood, in the movies you may see where people call the police and the police never show up. Well, in my neighborhood, that was true. It was normal for a kid at the age of 5 to walk down the street and seeing someone lay there dead, only because they wanted the property tax to go down a lot more. Also, in the middle of losing my home, I lost my community. At the age of 5, there was an Episcopal church across the street from my home. They taught me how to play sports. I played soccer, baseball, and football for them. That was the first real sense I had of family. My neighborhood was poverty-stricken, so whenever I didn't have a meal, I could go to that church and not only learn about God, but also receive a meal that would help me through the next day. Also, when my neighborhood was torn down, our sports teams were forced to dismember. And after I lost my sense of sports and community, I also lost my family. After losing my family, it was hard because once I left my mom, I had to leave my mom to go into my dad's side of the family, and all of the kids were split up into the rest of our family. And according to Tisha Jefferson, someone that I interviewed, DCS, as well as Memphis Housing Authorities, they walked house by house kicking people out. And if your house wasn't up to standard, they took your kids away, and you had to go 6 weeks without your kid to go through a program because they call you unfit to have your own kids. While my mother was deemed unfit, I was sent to my dad's house, and one decision led to another, And in 2016, on June 29th, I completed 4 years of foster care. And I'm standing here today as a success story of Youth Villages. Only 6% of kids graduate in foster care from high school. Only 2% go to college. And a fraction of that graduates from college. Thank you.
Our first Sarah had to go and take a test because these folks are not only willing to share their experiences and have amazing experiences, but they're students. And they're like you, and they work hard, and they're amazing. These are so little for what you brought us today, but we wanted to let you know that we appreciate these speakers, we appreciate their experiences, and we are so glad they got to share them with us today. Let's give them one more round of applause. Thank you, we appreciate it. Dean Dyer, did you want to visit before we go?
I know some of you came in from other campuses, and I am Esther Dyer, I'm the dean here. And we've coupled today with student appreciation and particularly our non-traditional students. We have our vendor here, Caribbean Soul, and he makes some of the best jerk chicken you'll ever taste, and he's got some samples, so I strongly suggest that you consider having lunch with Mr. Johnson in there. There he is, waving. And we are also going to have ice cream sundaes. We have to bring the ice cream out of the freezer. I didn't think it should sit here waiting for the speeches. And I do thank you all for showing up today. The speeches were wonderful, and appreciate the fact that we're doing it on Division Street campus this year. Thank you. It's like class. We have a hand raised. Yes, ma'am. The ice cream sundaes are free because they're in appreciation of our students.
And that wraps up In Our Words for this fall. Hope you enjoyed listening to the speakers. The recording will be available here on Facebook. We'll also put a copy on YouTube. Whichever one you're listening, be sure and comment if you would like, and let us know how this affects you in becoming better speakers yourself. For now, this is Don King signing off. Watch for the next iteration of In Our Words in the spring. We'll post information here on this page, which means you might want to join us so that you can get that information. Take care.